Welcome back. In this video, we shall talk about forms in React. Creating a form in React is easy, and it's just like the regular HTML and JavaScript form creation. In React, we have what is known as controlled components in forms. This means the values of our input fields are set in state. We are going to get to see how to create a form in React with the concept of controlled components. So let's create a form in our VS Code using the controlled component method. So let's put in the import statement first and the class block, and let's give it a name, my app there. Let's get rid of this statement here. Alright, and let's pass in our div tags here. In our div tags, we are going to create a form component. This means we are going to create a form file here that will have our form component in it. So let's get rid of this here. Let's save that. Now let's go to our app.jsx and let's import our form component like so. Now let's come back to our form component. Let's create a div here to get rid of that error, and in our class here we are going to pass in the constructor method, and with the super function as always, and we are going to define states. What we are going to pass in as the object properties in states will be the fields in our form. So we're saying username, we set that to nothing for now because there is no username till the user enters a username. The comments, we set that to empty for now. Let's say choose, and let's just pass in tennis for now. So let's come down to our div tag here and let's say form. We have created our form tag here, and let's create a div tag here. Let's pass in a label of username. Let's pass in an input tag that's going to have a type attribute set to text with a value attribute set to this.states.username. Let's put this on different lines so it's not going to look clumsy. Let's pass in another attribute called the onChange attribute. This is an event handler like the onClick event handler. This event handler is triggered when a change is made in the input field. So we are going to set this to this.handle change. Let's call this handle change. This means we are going to create a method known as handle change. So that's all. So let's close our input tag. So let's create another div here with a label set to comments. Let's use the text area tag there. Let's set the value to these.states.comments, and let's pass in the onChange attribute here that's going to be set to this.textChange. So let's break this to another line like so. So let's go down, create another div tag here, and let's pass in the label, and let's call that choose, and create a select tag there. Let's open that, and in our select tag let's pass in a value set to this.state.choose. And let's pass in an onChange event handler also that will be set to this.chooseChange. You can call that whatever you want to call it. This.chooseChange. In our select tag, let's put our options. So the first option, let's make that 3. So our first option is going to be tennis. The second option is going to be soccer. And the last option is going to be basketball. Here now, and in our option tags, let's pass in a value set to tennis in lowercase. Also a value set to soccer in lowercase also, and also a value here set to basketball. Now let's save that. Let's check our server to see if our server is running fine. And here we have it. Our server is running fine. Let's check our browser to see what we have. As you can see, we have the username field, we have the comments field, and we have the select option working fine already. Now we are going to make this a controlled component form. And the way for us to do that is for us to handle every event happening on the form and also setting states as a single source of truth for this form. Let's go to our VS Code to see what I'm talking about. So the first method we are going to create here will be the handle change method for the username field. So we are going to do that outside the render method and outside the constructor method. We are going to come here and say handle change. And inside the handle change method, it's going to take an argument known as event. And we are going to set states with this.setState, which is a function always going to take that bracket. And it's going to take an object in it. And we are going to set comments to event.target.value. Let's save that. What we are missing out is we have to bind this method because it uses the setStates function. So we are going to say this.handleChange is equal to this.handleChange.bind. And we are going to pass in this there. The next method to create will be the text change method. And we are going to do that here. Come here and say text change, passing the event argument. And we are going to use the setState function also. We have an error here. This is supposed to be username, not comment. The method for the text change should represent the comments field. So we are going to set state by saying comments, and we are going to set that event.target.value. Let's save that. And the last method to create will be the chooseChange method. We're going to come here and we're going to say chooseChange and pass in the event argument also, and going to set that to this.setState. Do like so. And we are going to say choose to be set to event.target.value. Let's save that. And don't forget to bind all your event handling methods that are changing states to the constructor method. So let's come here and say this.textChange is equal to this.textChange.bind. And let's pass in the this keyword there. And let's bind this chooseChange here is equal to this.chooseChange dot bind, and let's pass in the this keyword there. Now let's save that, and let's go to our form now to see what we have. So we have Joseph comment. This is my comments, and we can choose whichever one we want to choose here. I know some of you might say this is still the regular form using HTML and CSS, but no, this is a controlled components form. Whatever we type in here is saved to state. So this is not the regular HTML and CSS form. This is a form that sets state as its single source of truth. Now, let me explain what we have here. You know, in regular HTML forms, we do not control the input of our fields. In React, we can control our input first by creating this constructor and initializing states. In our states, we are going to pass in the field names of the inputs like so, then set it to nothing because initially forms are empty till something is typed into it. So the fun part about this controlled component form is the form fields are being monitored for a change. So if there is a change in the username field, that is, if someone starts typing their username, our form will detect it and send whatever the person types to our state, which means our state here will change from these empty strings to what the person typed. And as you know, the way to change state in React is by using the setState function like we did here. Now, this setState function is inside a method that is triggered when a change happens in our field. Now, before we go into the next video, let me explain the value attribute here. This attribute is used to set this field to the value of the username in our state. So practically, we have used value here to link this field here as the username field to the username value here in our state. So anything that's typed into this field will be saved as username to this username value here in our state. And the only way the value of the user input can replace the current value of username in state is by using the setState function like so, with the event argument to grab the value of the unchanged event that happened in the username field. Then change the state of username to the value it grabbed like this using the setState function. This line here, event.target.value, can literally mean target the value of the event. And what is the event? Handle change, which is also set to onChange. So when there is a change in the user input field, target the value of the change event. So if you type in letter J, this targets the value which is J, and it grabs it, takes it to this method and uses it to set our username state to J. So whatever you keep typing will follow this process over and over and over again.